South Africa is sitting on a quiet fault line, and right now, that line is beginning to crack. In just a few weeks, tensions between locals and foreign nationals have flared in townships, city centers, and border communities, turning everyday streets into emotional pressure zones. Markets once filled with laughter now carry suspicion. Conversations that used to be casual now feel charged. And at the center of this growing unease, Zulu King Misuzulu steps forward with a message that cuts through the noise: calm before conflict becomes irreversible. Behind the headlines is a story far deeper than protests or slogans. This moment isn't only about immigration, jobs, or crime. It's about identity, fear, history, and survival in a nation still learning how to live together after decades of division. In this video, we're uncovering what's really driving the tension, why the king's voice matters more now than ever, what's being misunderstood on both sides, and the unexpected consequences unfolding beneath the surface of South Africa's social fabric. Before forming an opinion, pause for a second. If you were standing in a crowded street where trust is fading and frustration is rising, what would you protect first: your livelihood, your community, or your humanity? That single question frames everything that follows, because what's happening now is not just political, it's personal. Imagine a street in Durban where local traders and foreign shop owners once shared customers and stories. Today, that same street feels different. People walk faster, voices lower. Eyes scan more than they smile. The tension didn't arrive overnight, it grew slowly like heat under concrete. King Misuzulu's call for calm lands in a space already crowded with anger, fear, and unanswered questions. The atmosphere feels fragile. One wrong spark changes everything. What makes this moment powerful is who is speaking. King Misuzulu is not just a cultural figure, he represents historical authority, moral influence, and social memory in KwaZulu-Natal. When he asks for restraint, he isn't speaking only to politicians or activists, but to families, youth, business owners, and elders who shape everyday life. His words carry weight because they touch tradition and modern reality at the same time. It's leadership rooted in identity. Many people think tensions are simply about foreigners taking jobs, but the truth runs deeper. South Africa's economic pressure, high unemployment, and service delivery struggles create emotional pressure long before conflict appears. When survival becomes competitive, empathy becomes scarce. Communities begin to feel cornered and frustration starts searching for a target. That's how social storms are born. Foreign nationals, on the other hand, often live in survival mode long before violence erupts. Many came chasing safety, stability, or opportunity, only to find uncertainty layered on top of uncertainty. They build businesses, raise families, and contribute quietly, yet remain socially invisible until tension makes them visible for the wrong reasons. Their presence becomes political even when their intentions are simply human. King Misuzulu's appeal is strategic because it interrupts emotional momentum. When people are angry, they stop listening. When a respected traditional authority speaks, attention returns. His message is less about defending sides and more about defending coexistence. It asks people to remember that conflict destroys faster than it solves, and unity repairs slower than people expect. History whispers into this moment as well. KwaZulu-Natal has experienced political violence before, and the scars still shape community behavior. Elders remember how quickly disagreements once became funerals. That memory makes the king's words echo louder. He is not just reacting to tension, he is guarding against repetition. Social media adds fuel to already heated ground. A single video can turn rumor into rage in minutes. Clips without context move faster than facts. King Misuzulu's calm contrasts sharply with digital chaos, where outrage becomes entertainment and fear becomes currency. What spreads online often decides what explodes offline. The government's role complicates the situation too. Border control, economic planning, housing shortages, and policing failures all feed the same emotional reservoir. When institutions struggle, communities try to self-correct, sometimes dangerously. The king's voice becomes a stabilizer in a system where people feel unheard by formal power. Youth sit at the center of this storm. Young people face unemployment, identity pressure, and social comparison daily. When opportunity feels blocked, anger feels logical. The king's intervention indirectly speaks to them, asking restraint in a generation trained by impatience. That tension between tradition and urgency defines the moment. Business districts reflect the conflict visibly. Closed shops, early shutters, fewer customers, nervous transactions. Fear rewrites economic behavior. King Misuzulu's calm message is not abstract. It touches livelihoods, family income, and neighborhood stability. Every 10th street carries a silent economic story beneath it. Communities themselves are split internally. Some locals protect foreign neighbors, others reject them. The debate isn't clean, it moves through homes, churches, taxi ranks, and schools. King Misuzulu doesn't speak into a united audience, he speaks into a fractured one, where loyalty, fear, and identity intersect daily. Traditional leadership in modern South Africa is often underestimated, yet when crises hit emotional layers, not legal ones, cultural authority matters. The king's intervention reminds people that leadership isn't only about law, but about conscience, restraint, and historical memory guiding present behavior. Media framing also shapes perception. Headlines simplify, reality complicates. Some stories inflame, others humanize. King Misuzulu's call interrupts sensationalism with steadiness, asking listeners to slow down while everything else accelerates. There's also an international dimension quietly present. How South Africa treats migrants affects its image, diplomacy, and regional trust. What happens locally echoes globally. The king's words, therefore, are not only domestic, they ripple beyond borders. Faith leaders, community organizers, and teachers mirror his message in smaller spaces. Calm multiplies when respected voices align. King Misuzulu becomes a signal for collective responsibility rather than individual outrage. At the core of everything is fear, fear of losing jobs, space, dignity, and belonging. When fear goes unmanaged, it disguises itself as anger. The king's appeal works on that psychological level, trying to cool fear before it turns destructive. South Africa stands at a social crossroads where choices made quietly shape the future loudly. Tension can grow into conflict or into conversation. King Misuzulu's voice enters at that exact intersection, asking people to choose the direction carefully. This moment is bigger than a single statement. It's about whether communities listen before they react, understand before they attack, and remember before they repeat. The streets, the markets, the homes, and the borders are all watching how this story unfolds, because calm isn't passive, it's a decision made in real time. And as the noise rises and patience gets tested, one truth remains hanging in the air. When tension speaks, leadership must answer not with fire but with reason.